In this video, I'm going to do a brief introduction to Excel and some of the more common formulas you'll want to use. If there's anything not covered in this video, feel free to reach out to me for more Excel help, or I encourage you to search the internet. There's a lot of great videos and tutorials out there on the web. So for the basics of Excel, anytime you want to perform math calculations, you have to use an equal sign. If you would just type in 6 plus 7 and hit enter, nothing happens. But if you type equals 6 plus 7, when you hit enter, it will actually perform the calculation. Another thing I want to highlight is cell reference. So if I wanted to do this value plus this value, I could come down here and type 20 plus 99. But you can also reference. This is in A3. So if I type in A3, it'll select that value, and then plus 99 would be B3. And you'll get the same result. Cell reference is really important for a few reasons. One, it will save you time. Two, it really cuts down on the chance of you making an error by accidentally typing in a number incorrectly. And three, it is crucial to use cell reference anytime there's rounding going on. Let me illustrate this with an example. I'm going to enter the square root of 2 here. So equals square root is SQRT and then of 2. And here Excel gave me a value back. But if you know the square root of 2, the decimal goes on forever and ever. It doesn't stop after 5 spots. But Excel is just showing me 5 spots because that's what this cell is set up to do. But behind the scenes, Excel has the exact calculation figured with the decimal going on and on and on. So if I were to not use cell reference and just do 1.41421, let's say I try to multiply it by 2, I'll get a result. Now that result is subject to rounding, and so it's not going to be as accurate. Where if I do equals E2 times 2, cell reference, Excel will use all that behind the scenes decimal that's stored and get me a more accurate result. So now I'm going to run through some of these common formulas, and then at the end I'll spend a little time showing some things up here in the menu that you might want to use. To calculate the mean for some data, you want to hit equals, and then average is the formula you enter. Start a parentheses, you're going to put your data values in the parentheses. And the easiest way to enter the data values is to just grab them with your mouse and then close your parentheses. For the median, you hit equals the median, open your parentheses, and again, grab the data values. It'll tell you which one's in the middle. For the sum, it's equals sum. Grab the data values, and it will add them up. Sample standard deviation, so if you just have a sample of data, you want to hit equals standard deviation dot S for sample. Grab the data values, close parentheses. If you have the entire population of data, it's similar, standard deviation dot P for population. Grab the data, close parentheses. For permutations or combinations, let's say for example you wanted to do 6 permutation 2, you would hit equals permute, and then 6, comma 2. So there's 6 items, choosing 2 at a time. How many permutations? There's 30. For combinations, you would do equals combin for combinations. And again, I'll use 6 and 2. So 6 combination 2. With combinations, there are 15. For a scatter diagram, you want to select your data, and then come up to Insert, and select Scatter. And if it's too large, you can grab a corner and resize the chart so that it fits and you can see the scatter diagram. Now for the least squares regression line, if you right-click on a point, you can add the trend line. You want to make sure linear is selected, so it's drawing a line, the least squares regression line. And then at the bottom, you can get the equation for the line by clicking Display Equation on Chart. And the equation for the line will show up. So let me hit delete here and get rid of the scattered chart. Correlation coefficient, you would equal correl. And then start your parentheses. It needs two sets of data. So if we're finding the correlation between x and y, we would select the x, hit comma, and then select the y values. And then when we close our parentheses, we'll see the correlation coefficient. Some of the tools up here you may want to use. One is pay attention to the type of number that's here. Sometimes Excel could have it show up as a percentage or some other value you don't want. You typically want a number or general to have it display correctly. If anything, let me go back to percentage. If it's showing up like this with hashtag signs, double clicking right here will expand the cell. It was showing hashtags because there wasn't enough room to display the entire value. So again, see if I drag this and shorten this column, the hashtags will reappear because there's not enough room to display the whole value. Another thing to note is displaying decimals. So let me go back to the square root of 2, so equals SQRT of 2. It's only displaying 4 decimals here because the column's only that big. So I can drag my column and make it wider. It's still not showing all the decimals for square root of 2 because it's an irrational number. The decimals go on and on and on. If you want to see more decimals than what it's showing, you can use these values here, or these buttons, to show more decimals or to show less decimals. So as I click this, more decimals are showing. If I went this way, less decimals would show and it would round accordingly. And that's pretty much all I have to show. I do want to make a note to you that down here you can add extra sheets. So I could create a new sheet here and type whatever I want, put formulas, all sorts of things, and come back to what I had on that first sheet and kind of just flip between. It's like having multiple pages in a book that you can just flip between, all within the same document, rather than having separate Excel documents. If you needed more than one sheet to work with, this is a really convenient way to do it. One final thing to mention is that a lot of the errors I see in Excel are because the data values aren't entered in such a way for Excel to properly compute them with the correct order of operations. You have to pay attention to how you're using parentheses and typing values in. So I'm going to show you a little tip and trick on how to make sure you're getting the values inputted correctly. If I was trying to type this in Excel, I see a lot of errors where people try to type it all in at once. So they'll go 4,000 times, and then they need parentheses 1 plus 0.035 to the second power, and now we want to divide that by the bottom part of the fraction, but I need to make sure the whole top part is divided, so I need to actually come back and add more parentheses, so it's not just dividing 2 by the bottom, but instead it divides the whole top part. So now I can do the bottom, and there's not parentheses written, so I may enter that, but that's wrong because it's supposed to be divided by the entire bottom, so I need to put parentheses around the whole bottom part to get the answer. So there's just so much to worry about if you try to type it all in at once. I highly recommend to break it down into steps. Let's just figure out what the top is and reduce it to a single number. So for the top, I'm going to type in 1 plus 0.035, and that whole bit to the second power. I need my equal sign in front. There's the top. If I want the bottom part of that fraction, I just hit equals 2 plus 3.2 to the third. Alright, and I can even get the whole fraction now. I could hit equals D2 divided by D3. So this whole value, the top part divided by the bottom, comes out to here. And so really all I need to type now is 4,000 times that. So I can get my result by typing 4,000 times D5. And again, use cell reference in case there's rounding going on. Make sure you hit 4,000 times D5. And I use cell reference all along as I computed this. You don't want to type in these numbers because they could be rounded. So when using Excel, don't try to enter everything at once. Break it up. If there's fractions, do the top, do the bottom. Reduce them to a single number. And this is a much easier route to get the correct solution.